Hi, my friend, and welcome to the ninth ever episode of the Good Girl Syndrome Show. My name is Julie Vander Meulen or Julie Vander Meulen, depending on where you are in the world. And I am what I call an empowerment coach for high achieving women. And I have developed a concept called Good Girl Syndrome, what this show is all about. And my desire with this show is simply to unpack some of the patterns that we have as good girls. And I do that in two ways in this show. Every Wednesday, this is a Wednesday episode, I answer one of your questions. So I have quite a few people in my community by now who are interested, women who are interested in Good Girl Syndrome and how to, kind of heal themselves by themselves. And I receive a lot of emails back from my newsletter every Sunday, a free newsletter. If you're interested, you can go in the description box in here and you can go and subscribe. It's packed with little stories of my own life, a lot of personal development exercises. Most of it is that. And I also invite you to tell me about your story and ask me your questions in that newsletter. So I receive a lot of things from there. I receive comments I publish on all my social media. So I receive a lot of comments from here. And I have a Google form. Many of you have already posted your questions there and your stories there. You can find that in the description box as well. And you can tell me everything about your story. You can tell me about the questions you have regarding Good Girl Syndrome in your specific life. And so my goal is every Wednesday is I take one of these questions and I answer it. I answer it as if it was a mentoring or coaching session with me. And I just riff on whatever I would say. I don't prepare them in advance. I just select what you've said, take your quotes, and I just answer, it's virtually for you, right? But for me, it's live. Like I just do it in a moment as if I was in a coaching session and you would be asking me that in a moment. And I trust whatever comes to me. And then on Sundays, every Sunday, I take that same topic and I tell you about like where I am in my life on this specific topic and how I got out of that situation and, what tools I've used and so on and so forth. So you have a dual perspective in this show on the same topic. So every week, one topic, right? Based on one of your questions, one version, I answer your question. One version, I tell you how I deal with it in my life. So today we're going to talk about kind of the topic of closing the year. I thought it was a good question to take for this specific time. I'm recording this on the 23rd of December. This will go out tomorrow, so on the 24th. And so I think all of us, for probably the last few days, if not the last few weeks, we're kind of looking back at the year that has just passed, right? And so Christina was kind enough to give me her question. Hi, Christina, and thank you for your question. She talked about the feeling she gets by the end of the year. And so while some people may feel accomplished and they're happy to look back, it's not Christina's case. I will read you what she told me. She says, "Why does the end of the year make me feel like I failed? Everyone is posting their wins, their highlights, their goals. I don't feel proud. I feel behind, guilty, like I should have done more. How do I deal with that?" Right? So I'm thinking, Christina, first of all, I think, especially in this community, a lot of us feel that way. This year, I don't feel this way, right? But probably last year, I was, closer to what I'm feeling now than to what you're describing. But it's been something that has been there for me for a long, long time. Always feeling like I'm behind, like I'm a failure, all these different things, comparing, right? All these different things. So I will unpack it like line by line just like I would do if you were in a coaching session, right? And so let's start from the beginning. So why does the end of the year make me feel like I failed? And so I'll be simplistic in my answer to your question. Why it feels that way is because of your focus. It's because of what you're focusing on. It feels like that because what you're choosing to look at for the year is evidence of something. And from the language that you have here, my assumption, it's just an assumption, Christina, whatever works for you, for everyone actually, but now it's your question, Christina. So in whatever I do, it's like in my coaching session. You can't give me feedback live. So if I say something and it does not apply to you or I'm mistaken, you trust your gut. You know best, right? But I'll tell you what I think I see. And it's up to you to see if it resonates or not. So what I think I see here is you're saying, what does it feel like I failed? So what my assumption in here is that this is your own inner programming. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it comes from you specifically, from experiences in your life. I don't know where it comes from, but there's a specific conditioning here, a programming in your mind where it looks like you are actively looking for ways in which you fail. You are trying to find evidence, proof that you are failing. I would assume that if that is the case and I'm correct, then I would assume that this is not just happening at the end of the year. It's probably something you do regularly. It's one of your less constructive, to not say destructive, patterns that you may have, Christina, specifically. I used to have that too. Um, I used to have, Espania was just talking about that to one of my lovely clients, that I used to have, we call this a primary question. So it's like a question that you created when you were little, basically, to survive something negative that happened in your life, or to, you know, get by with someone who was saying something negative to you. I don't know what the circumstances are, but you kind of created a question. We call this a primary question in the Tony Robbins world. Um, and so then what you spend your life doing, because you're conditioned by it, is you spend your life trying to find the answer to the question. So I don't know what version of your question it is here, but it's something like, where am I failing? How am I failing? Why am I a failure? How am I a failure? It's probably something like that that goes on in your mind, and you keep unconsciously trying to answer that question. And so you're always finding like the ways in which you are, according to you, right, to like your own standards and your own judgments, why you are a failure. Mine, just to show you that it's not just you, mine used to be, and it can still be if I'm in in a state that is disempowering. I can go back if I'm very sad or very angry and so on. My question used to be, what's wrong? And a variant of that was, what's wrong with me specifically? So you can imagine that if I had, right, Christina, if I had this in my life, what I was always looking for was, I was trying to find proof that there was something wrong with me. And that's not, it's not, it makes you miserable, but it's not a difficult thing to do because we are all imperfect, right? So all I had to do was see every single mistake, every single thing I did that was wrong, everything that someone disliked about me, anything that was imperfect about my body, about my face, about my inner world, about my life, about so I was always looking for what's wrong and I was finding it, right? So my focus was specifically on what was wrong. My assumption here is that your focus, why you're feeling this way at the end of the year, is that you're already feeling some version of that. Perhaps it's more intense at the end of the year because you're saying it underneath it. You're saying that like other people are posting things, or you're comparing yourself, right? Um, but I would imagine that it's because your focus is on what you are failing, how you are a failure. And so I'm already jumping a little to the how, because you asked at the end, you say, how do I deal with that? For the focus part, I would say you change your focus. It sounds very simplistic, but it's really that you change your focus, you change what you focus on. And so if you know that now that I've told you this, try it. If it works, like if it's true what I'm saying, try to see. So if your focus is on where you are failing, if you want to feel the opposite of that, you just flip it. That's the easiest way to do anything. It doesn't mean it's going to be accurate 100% of the time, but you'll feel way, way better if you focus on, where am I succeeding? I don't know if it's the proper word for you. We all have different words that trigger something different in us, but where am I succeeding? Where am I being good? Um where do I want to praise myself? Like, find a version of that that works for you. And you will see that when you start asking that question. So if you feel miserable, right? You're looking at everyone, you're scrolling through social media, you're seeing all the things. I would say pause when you realize it. By the way, well done for having the awareness that you can see all of these different things. Once you can recognize that you're feeling this way again, is that how you want to feel? If it's how you want to feel, then, keep going if that's what you want to do. But if it's not, which I'm assuming it's what you're saying here, um, if it's not, then do the opposite. How am I succeeding right now? What did I do that was really cool this year? What did I enjoy this year, right? Change your focus. Look at the other things and come up with a list. And I would say come up with a list of 10 things. Because usually people say like 3 things and it's a good start. But I find that like the real joy and the real pride comes when you stack proof, right? Because I tend to think perhaps it's because I myself am someone who has been and can still be very hard on myself. I have so much proof of what's wrong. I have answered this primary question of what's wrong with me and what's wrong for so many years in my life that I have so much proof of what's wrong. If I want to find it, I can find it like that, right? Now I've exercised the skill of asking a new primary question. Mine is about how did I get so lucky? So I look at how I feel like I'm a very lucky girl or the luckiest girl in the world. It's my way of bringing silliness and, to feel giggles and so on and so forth. That's mine. And so now this one feels like second nature to me. I ask it all the time, but every time I feel down, that's what I do. I flip it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm back in my, what's wrong type of thing. And instead of doing that now, I ask my other question and I purposefully reply to my question. So I find 10 things and I'm stacking these 10 things because if I just do three, sometimes because I'm still in my mind and I'm still thinking about what's wrong, and that's really powerful. I'm still feeling all the negative emotions. I need to with it longer. I need more proof so that my mind can like start to relax and see all the beautiful things that are there, right? So that's what I would recommend for you, that you do a list of 10 things that are where are you successful and so on, that you change your focus. Um, the second part of what you were saying was everyone is posting their wins. I'm reading again, their highlights, their goals. So what this tells me, right, is that it's not just you with you, right? The first aspect was me telling you what you focus on, right? The second aspect is you are, seeing what other people post. So I'm understanding that you're talking about social media, not necessarily people in your environment. So a few things about that. One is be careful who you invite in your environment, would be one of my tips. Again, most of the things that I say are very simple. I try to keep it that way so that it's very easy to apply, but they also really work. So, are these people inspiring you, or are these people posting things that make you feel like you're less than them? Because there is a difference. And I don't just mean like that this is internal, which it can be too. I will talk about this in a second. But I think that there's also a very big difference between, for me at least, see if this resonates, Christina, or anyone who's listening or watching this. Um, to me, there's a huge difference between someone who is doing a recap of their year, an honest recap, and they're proud of themselves and they show different things. I'm genuinely happy for them. If I'm in a particular mood, I might be a little jealous or whatever it is, a human emotion, right? But I don't sit there, right? In general, these people really inspire me and I'm very happy for them, right? It's just me who's not in a beautiful state. Um, but some people, when I see their content, all I feel is negative things, right? Because I don't know, they have things that feel unattainable for me, or that they're like too far away from me, and or it's not real. There's something inside of me that knows and feels that this is not real life. Like all this person posts about is unreal things. Their amazing villa, their amazing car, their amazing husband, and their amazing kids, and everything's always absolutely fantastic. And they look perfect, and their belly is like that, and their hair. Like this does not make me feel good about myself, one, but also one of my values nowadays is I love integrity. I love real. I really love real. I love for you to win, right? For you, Christina. I do not know where you are in your life, but I'm sure that you are winning at some things. There's some things that are going really well in your life, right? And that you are fantastic at, however small, however tiny you might think that they are. I'm absolutely certain that there are things that you do really, really well that I would really love to have in my life or to be, right? Um, and if I see you winning, that makes me happy, right? That makes me happy. But I am only able to relate to you and to cheer you on when I know the full range of you, when it's not just you being with a perfect smile and everything's fine and everything, if everything's always perfect, I can't relate to you because you start looking like a robot. You start looking like an AI, right? And I can't relate to you anymore. And you make me feel terrible because I'm human and you do not look human anymore, right? So my advice to you on that is very simply remove all the people who don't make you feel good. It's as simple as that. And it doesn't need to have any explanation. If you look at my content and you do not like it for some reason and it makes you feel bad, remove me. That's simple. No need to give me an explanation. No need to give anyone an explanation. Stick around the people who both inspire you, but also make you feel good about yourself. The type of thing that triggers, you know, a beautiful sensation of like, oh, they can do it, so I can do it too. That type of thing. And I think that that would, by itself, it's very simple, but by itself, it will change your experience of a lot of things. So really pay attention to social media and how it influences you. The second thing that I would say is also simple. It's not mine. It's from an author I really love. What's her name? Anne Lamotte, I think is her name. I can't remember how it's written. Um, and I can't remember the name of the book, something about birds, but I can't remember. Um, she has a TED Talk, by the way. She's hilarious and very wise at the same time. I recommend it if you want to take a look, go check her out. Go check her TED Talk and also check her books because she's fantastic. In one of her books, but I think she also says it in a TED Talk. She talks about, and I'm going to paraphrase because I can't remember how she says it exactly. She said something about stop comparing your insides to other people's outsides. I read that 6, 7 years ago in a phase where I was only learning all these things, right? I was very much, in the dirt trying to like get myself out of patterns and so on and so forth. And it's one of the things I've never reread this book, right? And it's still in my mind, very present because I find that it's very true that oftentimes, like what I was saying about other people being like an AI or being like a robot and they make us feel bad, is also we compare ourselves unfairly in a sense that, like, what I show to you, right? Even if I'm being raw and real with you here, is the stuff that I'm comfortable sharing, right? So what you see is even if I'm raw and real, is still a version of me that is polished, right? It's a version of me that is more polished than I actually am when I am in my own mind, right? Also, it's the version of me that comes in a in an empowering state. I am in my genius right now. This is what I can do. I know this stuff. I love this stuff, right? I'm happy to be here. Like, this is my best self type of version of me that you're seeing here. You are not seeing the crazy version of me who's late to somewhere and snaps at her grandma. Like, this is not who you're seeing right now. So if I was, even me with myself, and I used to do that all the time, if I were to compare myself when I'm frantic and there's something going on in my life or I don't know what, right? And I compare myself to this version of me that I am now, like I would hate the other version of me, you know? Like if that was my always my point of comparison, then I will always find myself lacking and being behind. And I can't remember what other words you were saying, feeling guilty and so on and so forth. Because I'm comparing my outside, right? My outside right now, who I'm presenting myself to you because I'm doing my job, right? I'm doing something that I really care about. This is my mission. So I give it my all. This is not the version of me that was at 7 a.m. when I woke up, right? With my hair all over the place and who knows what else and what thoughts I had, right? It's not the same thing. So if I don't compare these two versions of myself and I just see myself as a spectrum, I think I would recommend you have that type of awareness and like come back to yourself. I know you know this, right? It's simple, but just remember to come back to it. That like to know that if you are comparing yourself to someone else, just remember, Christina, this is their outside. This is not their inside. So do not compare yourself in a moment when you feel shitty inside. Do not compare yourself to someone else in that moment because you're only seeing their outside. You don't know what's going on inside, right? In the moments when they feel shitty as well. So that would be my second thing. Um, the other thing that I would say is we were talking about focus earlier. I was saying that one of the patterns of focus is, like you can choose what you focus on. You can choose if you're going to look at, what happened in your past. You can choose at like what you want for the future. That will make a huge, huge difference, right? You can look at like what you have and what you do not have, right? So it goes back to what I was saying in the very beginning of this episode when I was saying that, like, what are you looking at? When you look at this year and what just passed, what are you looking at? And I asked you to change your primary question instead of like, how am I failing and so on and so forth. I said, like, how am I succeeding? What was cool about this year, these types of things. And I think that underlying that, basically, your pattern of focus, if I were to say it like that, your pattern here is you have a tendency, besides the whole story about failure and your primary question, it seems to me, push back, right? You with yourself, when you listen to me, push back if it's wrong. It looks to me like you have a tendency to focus on what you don't have, what isn't there, rather than on what you do have. And so my invitation to you would be, when you look at other people's things on social media, right? You are looking at what they have and what you do not have. This is the comparison that you are doing, right? We talked about the inside, the outside, and so on. But besides that, it's like that means that you are in how you are focusing on this content, you are looking to only notice the things that they have and you do not have. You're not doing the opposite, right? I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying this is the specific lens through which you are seeing things, Christina, which can make someone feel pretty miserable, right? Um, and feel like it's never enough, like they're always behind, like um, like ashamed, right? Ashamed of like where they are compared to where they should be, right? There's something along that line as well of like, what do you actually already have? What do you have right now? And what potentially do you have that they do not have? And I will tell you something very simple. When I see people who share all the aspects of their lives, um, what I have that they do not have is, for example, privacy, right? My privacy is very important to me. I don't know about you, but for me, privacy is extremely important. Can you imagine if a random person on Instagram just showed up at my door, and was just wanted to talk to me, or I had a stalker, or I don't know what, you can imagine it. If it helps you, you can actively think about what you have right now and they do not have, instead of always focusing, like you can again flip it and see if it works for you. But I find that it's usually very helpful because everyone has things that they have and everyone has things that they do not yet have and would love to have, right? And so again, it's like making an unfair comparison if you only look at things from one perspective. So there's many different ways that you can play with that and flip the story. Um, and acknowledge what is there, right? Kind of be grateful for what you have. Um, and on the last piece, you said, I don't feel proud. I feel behind, guilty, like I should have done more, right? Behind, guilty, like I should have done more. All of these, we have a should there, right? But all of these, I feel behind, guilty, like I should have done more. All of those um, are about an expectation of yourself. Besides what other people are doing, it's like, it sounds like, on top of everything else that we've said, that you have a specific expectation of yourself, right? Um, and you're operating from, and you haven't met those expectations. My assumption will be, again, you push back internally if it's wrong. My assumption would be, if you're here in this space and you belong to my community, my assumption will be that you do a lot of things already, right? Because that's the type of women I attract, because that's the type of woman I used to be, and I still tend to gravitate and attract women who are high achieving, right? They're ambitious and or high achieve. They do 1,000 things, right? So probably you do that too, and very hard on yourself, like most of my community, right? And like who I used to be, and can sometimes still be. So, you know, there's some there's some expectations you have of yourself, and from all the other things that we were seeing so far, right? If I read you correctly and if I interpreted things correctly, you are hard on yourself throughout this whole little section that you gave me. And thank you for being so honest, by the way, because it's very vulnerable. It's not easy to tell other people, especially now that I'm talking about it. Please do not feel like I'm targeting you. I have the same types of patterns in other areas of my life still to this day. And it's like my work, right? It's what I do all of the time. And every single woman who comes to me has, in her own way, a similar pattern to this. So please do not feel judged. I'm not like targeting you. I'm just pointing out that like your whole inner landscape, from what you've told me here, every sentence to me, how I interpret it, seems like it's delved in a sensation of not being enough, right? Of trying to find that you're a failure. Like all these things are being very hard on yourself, right? And so um none of it has joy in it. None of it is about what is here now. None of it is about what you already have. None of it is about how amazing you already are, right? All of these are a different pattern of focus, if you see what I mean, right? And so I think that the easiest way for you to get out of this is to go back to what we were saying in the beginning, where I told you about the new primary question. If that didn't land on you, that's fine. Or if it did, you can just stack with what I'm going to say to you now. But basically, what I would love for you to do, Christina, is just, right? Just to exercise seeing things differently. Ask yourself the different questions, right? There's a saying that says something like that. The quality of your life is a reflection of the quality of the questions you ask yourself, something like that. I think it's Tony Robbins who says it, or he quotes it from somewhere else. I can't remember. Um, and that's really true because there's so many questions, right, that we ask ourselves and like things we try to figure out about ourselves and about the world. And they're tinted. They're tinted by our own specific lens and bias and so on, right? And this lens is completely based, at least in a big part, based on the experiences you've had before and the meaning you made out of it, right? And so if the meaning is negative, and for you, Christina, it seems like there's a lot of negative meaning towards yourself. Like you see things and you make them mean something negative about you, right? Then the easiest way to change that is to ask yourself different questions in general. Doesn't have to just be your primary question, but ask yourself really nice question. And I'm pretty sure now everyone is on ChatGPT, right? Go on ChatGPT, tell it what I just told you, right? Tell it about that, about what are empowering questions I can ask myself so that I can see the beauty in myself, so that I can see the beauty in other people. What do I have? Who am I? What do I love about myself? What do I love about what I have? How can I appreciate what I've already done so far this whole year? What did I accomplish? And so on and so forth. And I think if you were to ask yourself these types of questions and force yourself, force yourself to reply. Don't just say, oh, I don't know, I can't. No, like you have the answers inside of you. If we were in a coaching session, if you were stuck, I'm doing this because I would make you move because it's like go back into your body. The issue is you're in your mind, right? Anxiety, all those things is your mind going on loops. If you're interested in that, I was talking about that to my last 2 episodes ago, episode 7. I was talking to Maryse, right? And I was talking about this loop that we have 90-second rules. It's basically the negative thoughts that you have in your mind. Physiologically, they should only last 90 seconds. If they continue, it's normal. We all do that as humans. I do that all the time. But it's because we perpetuate them. We perpetuate the thought. We want to think about it again and think about it again and think because we think that if we think about it more, like logically, we will start to like figure things out. Sometimes it works, but mostly for these types of emotional things, your mind is just acting out of survival. It wants you to make a decision, right? But these are like deeper, more complex things. And so If you want to reconnect with, let's say, your heart, like you have to reconnect with your body. You have to shake it out in some way, just switch your energy. Take very deep breath in and out, something that puts you back into your body and out of your mind, who is imprinted by all these patterns of thinking that we just talked about, the focus. And you ask yourself these beautiful questions and enjoy the process. Like, really, really, really enjoy the process of answering those. Like, find the beauty in your life, it's there somewhere. Like, and if you can't find it in yourself, right? Start small. Start with like looking outside. When I look outside, I can see 1,000 things that are beautiful. It's how I started my own journey. The sun, when it's shining, I love it. The stars, when I can see them, they're beautiful. The clouds, they have the most interesting shapes, right? The color of the sky changes every single day. How amazing is that, right? The trees, the leaves, the birds, the dogs, whatever it is for you, right? You love architecture. There's something in this world that you love and you can start to appreciate. You can start to appreciate it and you can start appreciating its presence in your life. And then you can start appreciating yourself in the same way, right? I can appreciate that I have amazing headphones, right? This is not difficult for me to appreciate. It says, even if I'm in the worst mood, I'm really, really grateful that I have these headphones, these, I can't even, it's not a proper name, earphones. I can't remember, earbuds, something like that. Um, I'm really appreciative of that. And when I think of that, I'm thinking, actually, you know what? My ears, I can hear. I'm very, very grateful for that. Because without that, I would be completely disconnected from the world and ongoing. I'm so grateful that I can speak, that I have a voice, right? I'm so grateful, and I can continue on and on and on. Grateful that I have this skill, that I can actually communicate with other people, that I can coach, that I have on and on. And you build on it. And it's joyful and it's empowering and it feels good. And you change your whole focus, right? So I think your question, in essence, is less about it being the end of the year. It's more about a pattern of focus you already have throughout the year. It's just amplified and triggered at this specific time of year because there's a lot of contrast between you and your standards for yourself and where you think you should be. And then you see other people, there's the stress of time, right? Because you said you're feeling behind. So there's a notion of time somewhere in your mind. The clock is ticking. You feel like you're behind. So probably the end of year is making that clock tick. You're like, oh my God, another year. I didn't do the 1,000 things I wanted to do. And then you compare to other people who have done that. And so that creates your recipe for you to feel this way. But it's a way you probably already feel inside. And so the solution, next week, I will talk about, how to set new goals and, an intention for the new year and all these different things. That will probably help you out. But I think that the best way for you to close this year is to give yourself some grace, to relook at your story, rewrite your own story. You're the one who's telling this specific story, and you chose, right, to view it through the lens of like what is missing in your life and what is missing about in you. How this past year and what you perceive as a lack of progress, how that made you a failure, according to you, not according to me, right? And you can rewrite that story. You just have to switch it. You just have to flip it. What is fantastic about this year? What happened that was amazing in this year? What did you enjoy this year? It doesn't even have to be about things you did. Did you have beautiful moments in this year? I won't believe that in 365 days you haven't smiled one time. If there's one time that you smiled, you find it. If there's one time that someone gave you praise, you find it. You stack it on your list. And from that list, have at least 10 things, right? 10 things that were really cool about this year, moments, opportunities, achievements, whatever it is, states of beings that you loved, and you stack them all. And now you look at your year, you forget about everyone else, and you give yourself the grace. And I wouldn't be surprised if you start crying, right? If you're doing this in the moment when I'm speaking to you, and that would be completely fine. Let all of that shame and all the guilt go and embrace the fact that you've done some incredible things this year. And perhaps next year you want to do more. I understand. I'm the same way. Perhaps you want to do better. I understand that too. And you can still acknowledge yourself for what you've done this year and who you've become, right? Whether it's because you survived things, right, that weren't great, and you'd rather not have gone through. I have some of those myself, right? I can still feel proud of who I am, even if in the bigger scheme of thing, I can think that those were setbacks, right? And I wasn't as productive as I wanted to because of this and that. If I look at it in an even bigger perspective, I can see the blessedness in the things. Sometimes not in the thing itself, because some things there's just no explanation for, right? We can't just feel grateful for the thing, but I can feel really proud. If I can't feel grateful for something, I can feel really proud that I went through something, right? And I came out of it a new person, right? Someone who's still kind, you know what I mean? Like I came on the other side of that, and that's something that I can cherish. Who I have become, who I am, right, as a person, and who I choose to be, I can be proud of. Even if for the past few months you have not been who you wanted to be because of an event or because of whatever, doesn't matter. Right now, you're doing this. You can choose an intention and you can be proud of that, of the intention. It can be simple, basically, to feel good about yourself. So I think I'm going to close it here, right? Christina, I think I gave you quite a few things to think about. Um, I really hope you take some of this advice and you actually apply it. I would love for you to text me actually and to tell me how it works. And if you need any advice, please do reach out because I did do this, in front of everyone else. I am absolutely certain that this will help other people as well, Christina. Um, and yeah, choose to see what's good with you. Choose to see what's good with you. And if you need a beautiful community, come join us. If you're not already on the newsletter, come join us there. There's a lot of lovely women over there. Um, Send me a message. I can put you in contact with other women who want to be in contact with other recovering good girls. Come on social media, like find a way, but put yourself in environments. And I do feel up to you, but I do feel like the environments that I've been cultivating for the past few years is like that. It's just women who are kind and who are on their own path of healing, their own path of growth. And find spaces like this one. If it's not us, it's fine, but find something that makes you feel empowered and where people cheer you on. Like the things that I just told you, a friend can do that, right? A good friend can do that for you. Um, so yeah, that's my hope for you, Christine. I hope this was helpful for you and for everyone else. Um, I will be doing the next episode on Sunday on closing the year and what it looks like for me versus what it looked like before. And I think that's it, my friends. Have a beautiful day, evening, wherever it is for you. If you love this episode and you're still here, please put a like, comment, do whatever, support this channel, support me and here, encourage me, or send me a little message. Um, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you for listening or watching.